I will not be intimidated. That's what Sheriff Joe Arpaio telling us tonight after a potential bomb was sent to him. We have all new details about this case. Our Natalie Brand sat down with the postal inspector and joins us now live. Natalie?
And Fields, the suspicious package was addressed to the sheriff here at his downtown office inside the Wells Fargo building. But before it had a chance to get here, it was discovered by an astute letter carrier who was trained on what to look for and what to do with a potentially threatening piece of mail.
I will continue being the sheriff. I am not going to be intimidated by anyone. And that's the promise, that's a fact.
The so-called toughest sheriff in America says threats to his office are nothing new. But MCSO says had someone opened the suspicious package addressed to Sheriff Arpaio,
it would have caused a major explosion and caused serious physical injury, burns, and maybe death.
The U.S. Postal Inspector's Office, the lead agency investigating, says the package was left in a parcel locker similar to the one in this picture in a rural area outside of Flagstaff. A letter carrier called his manager after realizing something wasn't right.
This individual carrier said, yeah, this is definitely suspicious.
Postal Inspector Keith Moore says he can't go into detail about what was found inside, but we know the package was x-rayed. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office says it revealed bomb-like parts, including wires. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Bomb squad used a water cannon to defuse the danger. The suspicious package is now on its way to a forensic lab in Virginia, while investigators from several federal and local agencies try to find the person responsible.
We are following up on multiple points of interest that we can, develop further.
Moore says while postal threats of this level are rare, a mail bomb in 2004 seriously injured Scottsdale's diversity director. And with recent acts of violence targeting and killing law enforcement officials across the nation, including a sheriff in West Virginia.
That's a risk that I have to take.
Sheriff Arpaio's office is on alert.
Whether we have to increase some security, at least now with this this threat going on, because sometimes when they fail, they throw another bomb at you.
MCSO says just this past Wednesday, they received a threat from a major drug cartel, and then this happened the very next day. No word or evidence whether the two cases may be linked. The sheriff's office says they do have an investigative lead, but at this point, Fields, no arrests have been made.
It was a swell of discontent with then-Sheriff Tom Agnos in 1992 that helped usher Joseph M. Arpaio into the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. The former D.C. cop and DEA agent said he wanted to shake things up.
I said I was going to put up tents, build up the volunteer posse, get tough on crime. That was my campaign.
Arpaio soon gained attention for enacting popular tough on crime policies, including his tent city jail, women's chain gang, and pink underwear for jail inmates.
Sheriff Arpaio is a leader in law enforcement.
John Kavanaugh is a current state representative and Arpaio supporter who believes the attention the sheriff has focused on Arizona has been beneficial.
A leader in cracking down on crime. That's what people will want. He sets the pace, and he projects a very good image for Arizona.
But controversy found the sheriff early on. Criticism about the way he handled the jail and a string of deaths within the jail system put the sheriff firmly in the hot seat and on the defensive as far back as 1996.
I have nothing to hide. I have an open door policy, so I have nothing to hide.
Still, the controversy did not hurt Arpaio's standing among voters. He's been re-elected 4 times, gaining a higher national profile with each election victory and each new headline-grabbing program.
I'm the producer here.
But it was the election of 2004 that critics point to as a turning point for the sheriff. That's when Harvard-trained lawyer Andrew Thomas won the race for county attorney.
It's not good enough, not enough to have just the ability to arrest. You've got to have a prosecutor that'll say, yeah, we'll prosecute that person, even if it's for political purposes. And he had that guy in Andy Thomas.
The duo of Arpaio and Thomas would soon make their mark on county law enforcement and government. At first, both men focused on high-profile efforts to combat illegal immigration, spearheading efforts to jail illegal immigrants for smuggling themselves into Arizona. prosecuting them for identity theft when caught working under false papers, and more controversial crime sweeps that critics called illegal immigrant roundups.
What he was doing is making every Hispanic person in Maricopa County feel like a second-class citizen.
There has never been any finding of systemic discrimination in the sheriff's office.
But with the fight against illegal immigration striking a chord with voters and making headlines, Arpaio and Thomas announced their most ambitious project yet, a crusade against corruption in government, which included the creation of the MACE unit, which stood for Maricopa Anti-Corruption Effort.
The public needs to understand there are very serious issues here.
The coming years brought investigations into state, county, and business leaders. Critics say they began to notice a pattern.
Every single one of those individuals has in common their opposition at some point in time to Joe Arpaio on a legitimate political issue.
Paul Charlton is the former U.S. Attorney for the District of Arizona. Now in private practice, he defended one of the highest profile targets of the MACE unit.
And the only conclusion is that when you cross this guy for legitimate reasons, you're going to find yourself under criminal investigation for a completely illegitimate reason.
I was targeted.
Phoenix Mayor Phil Gordon was one of the targets of a MACE investigation. The sheriff openly blamed Gordon for causing problems for MCSO.
All these so-called allegations, all the FBI investigations boils down to one guy, and that's the mayor of Phoenix.
In April of 2008, Gordon wrote a letter to the Justice Department asking the agency to investigate claims of racial profiling against the sheriff's office. 20 days later, sheriff's deputies demanded all of the mayor's emails, phone call logs, and appointment calendars.
Do you think that was in retaliation for the letter that you wrote to the Justice Department?
Definitely was. It was multiple inquiries and investigations and acknowledged by some of the sheriff's people.
The list of people subjected to the sheriff's investigations reads like a who's who of the valley. People who had authority over the sheriff's budget or challenged his authority, all under investigation. Dan Sabin, who ran against the sheriff in 2004 and 2008. Arizona Attorney General Terry Goddard. Maricopa County Manager David Smith. The entire County Board of Supervisors. Superior Court Presiding Judge Barbara Mundell. And Attorney Daniel Pachota from the ACLU. None of those investigations resulted in convictions, but they cost the targets hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawyer bills and tarnished their reputations.
He knows he never has to prove anything. He just raises the issue and then hides behind the badge. And the damage is done.
Nobody's above the law in this county.
In a succession of indictments in 2009, Arpaio and Thomas charged County Supervisor Don Stapley with filing false financial statements, charged Supervisor Mary Rose Wilcox with conflicts of interest and perjury, and charged presiding criminal court judge Gary Donahoe with bribery. The criminal case against Judge Gary Donahoe was dropped, and a state bar investigation now accuses former county attorney Andrew Thomas and the prosecutor on the MACE unit of conspiring with the sheriff and Hendershot to drum up the charges. The investigation concluded there was and is no evidence at all, much less probable cause to believe that Judge Donahoe engaged in bribery, and that Sheriff Arpaio is the one who came up with the idea of charging the judge.
In that, it quotes Dave Hendershot as saying it was your idea to charge the judge. Is that accurate?
Well, I'm not going to get into that either. Sometimes when Dave Hendershot talks, the transmission is kind of mixed up. I think that's one of the problems.
Another target of the MACE unit was the Maricopa County government. County supervisors, managers, and budget officials found themselves the targets of criminal investigations and indictments, they believe, for cutting the sheriff's budget. The sheriff's office shifted money away from the jails in violation of the law. Some of that money paid for pet projects, including crime sweeps and the MACE unit.
You listen to critics, and they'll say, the sheriff didn't have enough in this fund to pay for his high-profile immigration raids, Mace Unit, policewomen in Maricopa County. So he just said, let me just shift this. Are those critics wrong?
Of course they're wrong. But the bottom line is that we have discovered it, we took action, we're going to get it rectified, and it's not going to happen again.
The Department of Justice just released their report on MCSO and Sheriff Joe Arpaio for civil rights violations. Let's break down for you the 3 key findings from the Department of Justice investigation. They found a pattern of unconstitutional policing in the department that was discriminatory against Latinos. Hispanics are pulled over at a much higher rate than other people, 4 to 9 times as often, and many times without cause. The department was found to have retaliated against critics, and the feds say they found a pattern of discrimination in the jails. Non-English speaking inmates denied essential services, which is, of course, a violation of the Civil Rights Act.
There has been damage done to the reputation of this department. Do you feel extra pressure on your shoulders to turn the perception of this department around?
Actually, I do. I've been here since I was 18, my entire adult life, 33 years. And now that I'm in this position, in this very tumultuous time, I work very hard to get back that respect.
That may be a tall order. The sheriff's key allies are gone. David Hendershot is out. Andrew Thomas is facing disbarment proceedings. And the sheriff himself is the target of a federal grand jury investigation.
Based on all of the evidence presented and investigated, I cannot, in good faith, report to you that these documents are authentic.
Sheriff Joe Arpaio is making bold accusations about President Barack Obama's birth certificate.
Investigators believe that the long-form birth certificate was manufactured electronically and that it did not originate in a paper format as claimed by the White House.
Even though the White House released Obama's birth certificate online last year, a group of Arizona Tea Party members asked Arpaio to investigate the document. The sheriff launched his volunteer cold case posse to start digging. 6 months later, the results are in.
The document has failed every test we put it through.
Volunteer lead investigator Michael Zullo says the date and timestamp on the birth certificate appear imported. Zullo suspects the president's birth certificate is forged.
Get the hell away from me.
Arpaio supporters and opponents squared off.
I think Sheriff Arpaio is looking for headlines. He's trying to divert attention away from the problems that he has caused in his office in this county.
Daniel Martinez says Arizona doesn't need a sheriff meddling in Obama's affairs. Instead, Martinez wants Arpaio to focus on the Department of Justice's investigation into his office.
He has not investigated over 400 sex crimes, some committed against children.
Gays and lesbians should have access and opportunity the same way everybody else does in every institution and walk of life.
Long-standing ban on gays in scouting. Should scouting be open to gays?
Yes.